Welcome to Beach Life Unlocked, episode 5 with my colleague Mike Dotson, Mitchell David here. Today we're going to be discussing how to pick an agent.
What's important in your agent, Mitch?
Right, and so while we joke back and forth, this is really for the new buyer, or actually, I had a phone call the other day from a buyer who was with an agent, just wasn't working out, so they were looking for something different. So. Yep. Today we're going to try and kind of help guide you on where we think you should go, and or not really go, I guess more what you should be looking for.
Choose the best agent for yourself.
All right, well, give me one thing that you think. We'll go back and forth.
Well, when you were talking about this buyer that called you the other day and wanted to switch agents because it just wasn't working out, first thought came to me was when I was in real estate school, they said it's always best to be the second or third agent, because then you know all the pitfalls that someone's looking for, what they're really looking for. Because if somebody's looking to buy or sell, they don't always know up front. You know, they don't know the process. I think you kind of learn, buyers especially first-time home buyers, learn what to really look for, what works for them.
I'm gonna push back a little bit.
Okay.
So when you're in real estate school, they said to be the second or the third.
Mostly with the listings, because
listings. I definitely understand. A buyer agent, dude, I want to be the first.
No, absolutely.
Okay.
No, I agree. Okay. I agree,
okay.
And I think it's important to find somebody that, I don't know if get you is the right word,
right.
But kind of has the same mentality. Because you know, I've got buyers now that just signed, right, as far to buy a house. I've been working with them for 5 years, right? And so if we didn't hit it off in the beginning, there's no way we would have lasted 5 years.
That's true.
So I think you find somebody that, and that can be difficult, because especially over the phone when you're first talking to somebody, you know, my wife would say I play too much. Right,
you joke too much.
I joke too much,
okay.
And so I don't take things too seriously. You know, so for me, you know, having a client that likes to laugh, you know,
it's good.
You know, buying a house isn't. It's not, you know, brain surgery, right? You know, it's really a huge decision. It's probably the biggest financial decision that you're going to make in your life. Right. So it is important. I don't mean to come off saying it's not important, but for me, you know, I enjoy what I do, and so
you want the experience to be a good time.
Yeah,
exactly. So your first one is. It has to be a connection.
You have to be able to get along.
Okay.
Right, because sometimes you're going to spend hours with this person, and so being able to just have a conversation, I think is important.
Right.
Somebody that knows. Especially with where we are in Ocean City, somebody that knows Ocean City, knows the market. And that really goes with any market. You know, if you're buying in DC, Virginia, wherever, you want somebody that knows what they're talking about.
So we're on number 2. So
yeah, I mean, I'm spitballing here.
Spitballing, okay. All right. So Mike got straight into the emotion portion of it. Which is important. He is correct. There has to be a connection, because it ultimately, like you said, 3 years, 5 years, 2 years, some are one and done. Mm-hmm. Not the norm. Right. So there has to be some connection there for sure. I would say in the infancy of you looking, before you even call anybody, probably the first thing that I would do, since they're so readily available, is I would look at reviews. Yeah. Now, and they don't have the whole picture, right? I mean, we have great reviews. Right. It doesn't mean every single transaction that we did was a 5-star transaction. We've had push-ups. So again,
I think we've had push-ups, but I think that's where the 5 stars come from, because we know how to get over those obstacles.
Correct, but I can look back and go, I wish I had done more in a different transaction type of thing.
Well, I think it's important to remember that in real estate especially, you're always learning.
Absolutely.
I mean, every day is new. Every transaction is different. There are going to be things that pop up in one transaction that don't pop up.
Well, not to segue, but we just reached out to Mar yesterday. You remember?
Yep.
Because we needed a question answered that was for clarification. That we were going back and forth with another agent, and humbly, I would say I was incorrect, 50% incorrect. The other 50%,
half right, half wrong.
I was half right, half wrong. But again, to the point was, it's important to make sure that we're always trying to inform ourselves
Yeah,
on
you
that.
got to keep on top of things. I mean, things are always changing in the market. Things are changing with laws and requirements
Exactly.
when it comes to the transaction itself. And so staying on top of those things is imperative.
Right. So
and an agent that does that.
Right. And I think that type of always trying to learn, that connection you're talking about, it will show itself in the reviews.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think kind of connected to that in a way is, is your agent full-time? Is your agent part-time? Right?
Yep.
Is this all they do? Like us, this is all we do.
Right.
Right. So for somebody, there are people in real estate that they work a 9 to 5 and they do this stuff on the weekends. And so they may not be up on every little change. Like I said, every day I'm learning something new in real estate. And so if you're not doing it every day, you may not know that things have changed. There's always slight changes in addendums in the contract itself. What that means or looks like for a client or for buyers or sellers. Can be the difference in a transaction,
right? Or even
settlement table,
or even our experiences during a transaction. Then we'll reach out to an attorney. We may even have a special addendum written up for that incident or for that item, for that negotiation part, whatever that is, and then we have that extra in our toolbox.
And that's important too, because we don't pretend to be lawyers. We're not attorneys.
We're definitely not attorneys, and actually we can get in trouble for doing that. So exactly. we should not be writing addendums.
Have an attorney on your side, although in Maryland you don't have to have an attorney involved in
the title company, correct?
Right.
That's nuanced in Delaware.
Yeah, the way we do things is we have an attorney involved.
Correct.
Because if there is anything that needs to be changed, and need some legal verbiage in that, we leave that to the professionals. Right.
So Mike hit on to something that was important, I think, as well, as the part-time, full-time. And we're not saying to the part-time agents out there that you suck. We're not saying that. And there's some good ones. Yeah, what we're saying is, as a first-time buyer, or maybe even a repeat buyer, you need to make sure that the person that you're going to hire is well-versed in it. So which goes to a new agent versus experienced agents. Yeah. I heard this crazy stat, don't know if it's true or not. It was on Redfin. 71% of realtors had 0 or 1 transaction last year. 71%. I mean, it baffles my mind if that's correct, because there's the learning curve on each transaction, and not to have that back and forth on that. I mean, that's a detriment.
Yeah,
I would think so. 71%.
That doesn't surprise me. And the only reason I say that is because when I first got into real estate, I started at the perfect time, right before the world shut down during COVID. So it was a really great time to meet people, get to know them. So for me, it took me 4 months before I had my first transaction, and that was kind of the only reason that happened, because it was kind of luck.
Right.
I got a phone call, and just from a site that I had paid for to get leads, they came through and they were ready to buy. They were a cash buyer. It was a foreclosure. But then after that, it was several more months before I was able to close another transaction, because, and even then I had to reach out to agents that, in my office, because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Right. Because I think right now, if an agent starts, I think there's a lot of opportunity for to be educated, to sit in an office, to listen to other agents talking, to see the process start to finish. For me, I started in February of 2020. March, I think it was, they shut everything down. Nobody was in the office. I was at home. How do I do this? How do I navigate? And so in this business, you have to be self-motivated. Right. You have to want to get up every morning and go to work.
Well, so let me play on this. So we just said, we're not, if you're a part-time agent, great. We're also not saying that if you're not a new agent, that we would stay away from a new agent. Well, what I think we both would agree on is this, is that if it is a new agent, great. They're probably super excited, as long as they have a good backstop, as long as they're, and most people now, a new agent is probably going to be on a team for the most part. So the question that if you are going to go with a new agent would be, hey, what does your team look like? Are you solo? Do you have other people there that if you
have
do
support?
You have support. And obviously the great part about being a team is the banter back and forth, which sometimes leads to really good questions.
Yeah.
Right. That even for I'm super seasoned, right? You're now seasoned, but we're still learning, and so we're still going through this ever evolving real estate door all the time.
Yeah. Things are always changing.
Right. So we talked about obviously communication / connection.
Yeah.
Right. We talked about having good reviews. Trying to find somebody who this is their primary job, where it is their nose. Also talked about experience, right? Not that you can't go with somebody who is newer, but then try to check the backstop of who are they working with.
Right.
Next thing that I would say is that, again, in 2025, I think any good agent worth their salt, for the most part, should have a dedicated website to be able to host their customers / clients.
Yeah, people need to be able to get online and see what they can see on Zillow or Redfin or whatever site they might be on. You need a site where people can access all the information in one area. And if they can't, right, and you don't see what you're looking for, being able to reach out to somebody, and get those questions answered. And so for us, we're always available. We do this 7 days a week.
Right. We have a great website.
We have a great website.
Right. And so on the website, obviously we have blogs. We have market statistics. So not only can they go to our website to read our bio or look at properties, but they can also get additional information on, some nuances of the real estate world that maybe a Zillow or Redfin really isn't catering to, because they're the big portals. And they have, and for everybody out there, any property you see on my website or Mike's website or Zillow, we're all syndicated through the MLS. So that is typical. And so again, it is an expense an agent has, but I think it's a very value. Nothing frustrates me more than when I reach out to a potential client / customer, which they would be initially, and them saying, "Oh no, I'm working with another agent, but I wanted to see the listings on your webpage."
Getting more information on our site than they are in their own agent's site.
Or they might not have a site. Right. The agent's letting them shop on somebody else's website, which, the way we work it is, we're straight honest with them. We ask the question, do you have an exclusive agency agreement with that agent? Yes, I do. Great. As much as I want you to be here, you need to go back to that agent, because I'm not getting in trouble for that.
Yeah. And I think with our site, I think the biggest difference that we have, and hopefully we're not sharing the inside secrets here, but our blogs. People are able to go, especially with BeachLife Ocean City, they're able to go on and see things that may be something you need to consider here in Ocean City that you wouldn't consider elsewhere. Like the fixture tax, right? The quarterly fixture bill. You don't have that elsewhere. You're really only here as far as Maryland goes. And so that's something that would be a consideration within your decision on where to buy. So I think we have more local info that's more readily available than you're not going to get on Zillow.
Correct.
Right. That information's not out there. Right. So for us, it's just having being able to share that information with people before they even come to town. Right. Keeping that in mind before you even decide this is where I want to be, and next steps.
Right. Well, the other great part about the website is that we can communicate with you directly through the website. So if there's a property that you like, you can actually say, "Hey, can I get some additional information?" You can schedule a showing, through the website. Yep. And so what I'm saying is, while you're out looking for a potential agent to represent you, make sure they've invested in themselves with technology that's going to overall benefit you as a client, right?
Give you the full overall picture of what you're actually investing in here, especially at the beach.
So what else?
There's a lot.
There is. Let's talk about this one, because I think we kind of briefly touched on it last time, which was local agent versus out-of-town agent, because obviously there's really strong feelings here on this, and again, let's be clear. Any agent, well, actually, even Delaware agents who are licensed in Maryland, which Mike and I are Maryland agents licensed in Delaware, so we're Maryland, Delaware, duly licensed. But again, we only go up to the beaches. We don't go all the way, to Dover or Wilmington, because that's not our area of expertise.
I wouldn't even know where to begin.
But we could sell there.
We could.
Right. So again, we don't sell in Annapolis. We don't sell in Frederick. We kind of stick here to where we know what we know and we know it well. So, and honestly, I mean, we're gonna probably upset some. And again, we're not saying that an out of area agent is not a good agent. We're just saying make sure your out of area agent has experience within the area that you're looking.
Yeah, and
right?
I think it's also we a lot of times tell clients, like, when you're looking for a lender, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, somebody's got to be knowledgeable at the beach, got to know the requirements of a condominium, the insurance, how taxes work, that whole 9 yards, because all of that is different than you would find in a single family home, let's say in Montgomery County.
Correct.
Right, it's not the same here. Right, a lot of things to consider. So. Make sure you have somebody that knows what they're doing. Honestly, and that's just, you have to know the beach.
Right.
It's a different world here. I keep going back to that because it is. I mean, when like I said in the last episode, I think I said I've sold elsewhere in Maryland.
You did.
And it's a completely different transaction, start to finish, than it is at the beach.
Correct.
So if you're going to buy at the beach, you want to have an agent who knows the beach. And knows how Ocean City works.
Right, and we help out of area agents by answering their questions.
Yeah.
But if your out of area agent is asking all the questions to the listing agent, remember, we're fiduciaries to the seller.
Right.
Right. Our fiduciary responsibility is not to the buyer. So while NAR and ethics and cooperation is all things that we work with, there are just some things that we can't share with an out of area agent because it would be a breach of our fiduciary, right? So again, just again, as you pick the agent, sure, it might be convenient to pick your next door neighbor who sells, but is your next door neighbor going to get you the best deal?
They didn't even know how to access the buildings.
Correct. Where the pool is, right? Like the carousel.
Is there a fitness center?
Well, the carousel is a great example because do the carousel have keys?
No. You have to go to security to get into the units.
That's correct. And so, I have a listing at the carousel, and I've gotten phone calls. How do I access? Well, it's in the instructions, number one. But number two is, if you knew the carousel, you would know you would go to security. You sign in. You show them your credentials and you're showing, and you go and get the card and you go show the unit. Again, not a big deal. But if you're out looking at properties and you have your agent,
time waster,
right? And look, we go to properties sometimes where the Bluetooth's not working or there's a missing key. So there's always something that could happen when you go show a property. Again, but those are things that we have no control over.
Yeah, but any agent's going to have that issue.
Exactly, but not knowing certain specifics about a building that your client's potentially interested, becomes problematic. And if we don't know something, what's the first thing we do? We get in the car and we drive 2 minutes and we go look prior to make sure that we're up on everything.
Yeah, or we call the association or the management company because we have relationships with them.
Exactly.
We can get that information quickly.
Yep, exactly.
So I think it's having an agent that knows, just how to access a building, how to, where things are located, how the addresses work in Ocean City. I think is even, I educate buyers all the time. Like, how do I know where this is? Well, the address for the most part is going to tell you where it is, right? What street it's on. So knowing that, agents come into town, they may not know that, right? And then they're downtown, they should be uptown because they thought they knew what they were doing. So just having knowledge of the local market. Right.
So again, it goes back to that hyper-local type conversation we had last time that, you really, again, when you're looking wherever it may be, Frederick, Annapolis, you need to find that agent who kind of specializes in that area to make sure that they're getting you the best information, right?
Well, let me ask you this. So for you personally, say a buyer calls you up and said, hey, I'm looking for a house in Annapolis. Are you going to go to Annapolis and show them that house?
So just
how would you
you mean like a one-off? Like just somebody I don't know or somebody I've been working with?
Just somebody, let's say somebody's been on the website for 2 years.
Okay.
They've been looking in Ocean City, but then they call you and say, hey, I've been on your website, looking at Ocean City properties, really thinking about buying something on the water in Annapolis.
No.
No. How would you?
I refer them out.
Send them to
I would. I mean,
an agent in
I would if I had already done a transaction with them 1 or 2 times.
Yeah.
Well, heck, that's not even true because I have a client, Jill, who she bought with me, she sold with me, and then she was looking in Annapolis, ironically, and I referred her out to another agent that was local there because, again, let's be honest, the ease of access to get them in. I mean, the buyer shouldn't work around our schedule for the most part. I mean, there are certain circumstances where we're just booked and we just don't have certain time frames allotted that we'll have to try to maneuver. But for me to say, hey, listen, that takes me 2.5, 3 hours to get there, I can only do it on Saturdays, they might miss the property they're looking at. So yes, to answer your specific question, I would refer them out wholeheartedly.
Yeah, and I think if you have an agent, let's say you live in Frederick, you have an agent you used in Frederick, you bought your house with, whatever, you're looking to buy something in Ocean City, and you said to your agent, hey, I want to buy in Ocean City, when can you show me property? And if their response is, oh yeah, anytime, I don't know that agent is really the right agent for you, right? Because they're just desperate, or I don't know about desperate, but if they're just like, yeah, well, is that person, number one, working their market? Or if they just have any time they could come to Ocean City from Frederick, make a 3-hour drive any day of the week. If they're not good in their own market, what makes you think they're going to be good in this one?
Correct. Well, I think that goes back to the reviews. I think that, I'm a big review person. Yeah. And again, you can go on, most agents, Zillow's free to have reviews. Yep. So most agents will have a profile on Zillow where you can go and you can search them, and then Zillow actually ranks people per review by total amount of reviews, really. So doesn't always speak the full picture, right? You can go to
rank them by who pays the most money.
No, it's not true. I mean, that is some of that is true, but that's not true. And the other one, which I think is really taking off, is the Google Business.
Yeah.
I think that is where
I direct most people.
Yeah, I think most people are starting to.
Everybody Googles.
Everybody Googles.
I saw a stat yesterday. I think it was like 91% of internet searches begin on Google.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think DuckDuckGo has a few now, and Yahoo, but I think I would agree to that number. I'm still shocked by the 71%. I'm sorry. I'm kind of stuck in that 71% of agents did not have more than one transaction, or even zero.
I'm not surprised by that, only because I've been in this long enough and I've seen how some agents work. Right, it's just kind of fly by the seat of your pants. They're not dedicated, they're not invested. Those agents that aren't selling probably don't have a website.
Right.
They probably don't invest in technology to provide information that you can only get on their site or from a local agent, rather than all the information that we all have that goes out to Zillow and Realtor.com and those types of things. So I think I'm not surprised by it, only because I've seen agents. I've worked with agents that.
That's why
unfortunately don't know what the hell they're doing.
Right, and I think that's why this conversation is so important to have, because I think just that fact alone, you're not surprised by it, makes that as a buyer, if you don't do your due diligence on looking for somebody, you might be getting somebody who just doesn't understand the market or real estate in general, the contracts, the addenda. Right. I mean, all those items. And so, we talked about the website. We've talked about reviews. The other interesting part is, are there any other technologies or any other items that you think a buyer's agent should have? I know I'm catching you off guard with this.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good question. I mean, I think number one, you have to have a site that provides all the information that we can get from Bright, right, from the MLS. You have to have a site that provides additional information in regards to the local market, right? What makes this market different, right? And I think our site does that with the many blogs, and talks about, I think we have a blog, excuse me, like the 5 things to consider when buying in Ocean City, right? And so I think having a site and a technology that provides that information that's easily accessible, I think is key.
So what do you think? So obviously we're on social media doing the podcast.
Yeah.
This is new to us, right? I mean, we haven't. So what are your thoughts on that having as a in your back pocket type of thing? Like, do you think your agent should or shouldn't be on social media? Do you think it even makes a difference? Right? Does it even make a difference?
I think it does. I mean, I think just the world we live in, that's where everybody is, right? Everybody's on their phones nonstop. And so and I think a lot of people are getting their information from, Twitter and watching a lot of YouTube videos. I mean, I know people that their news sources, their Twitter feed or the YouTube videos that they watch.
Right.
And so, I think that's where people are, and getting the information out to people so that they have the knowledge they need when it comes time to buy or invest or, decide whether or not, what they're going to do with their money. Having somebody like us doing this, providing information, educating the consumer, and being accessible. I keep going back to accessible.
Yeah.
And I think we're accessible. We're both on Facebook. I'm not a huge social media guy myself.
No.
So I don't live on there. But you can contact me in several different ways. My Google business page, my website, our website, Facebook. I'm on Twitter, but do a whole lot on there, mostly just to see what's going on.
Yeah, I agree. I would say initially 3 or 4 years ago, obviously, I don't think it was a huge deal, but I think the key word that you're saying that I just picking up today is accessibility.
Yeah.
Right. I think for a potential buyer and or seller, which we're not talking about sellers right now, but I think for them to be able to access that person, like it's one thing to read reviews.
Yeah.
It's another thing to see them live on camera or recorded or whatever it is, because then, like we were at the office yesterday and we got the phone call from the gentleman he's a broker. This is not his area of specialties. He called us for advice, right?
On a property that he's selling.
A property he's selling, and I talked to him for how long?
At least a half hour.
A half hour.
Yeah.
So again, and part of that, I truly do believe, obviously it's part of our marketing because we send out flyers and different stuff like that. So again, we do put ourselves out in there as real estate experts, which we are. We've said this before, that we're happy to have conversations with people to help them. But I think that's a great word. I think accessibility to your agent and being able to see what they're actually providing.
Yeah. And also I just thought about another good trait or good something to look for in your agent. Are they pushy?
Yes.
Are they trying to just get the transaction done? I know a lot of agents that are very successful, but they don't have a whole lot of repeat business because what they do is they're just trying to get to the finish line.
Right.
Whether or not it's the best thing for their buyer, I think there's agents that kind of just, I'm signing here, just keep it moving. You know what I mean? They don't spend a whole lot of time with that person, really trying to figure out what really is going to work for this person, right? I just told you, I've been working with a client for almost 5 years now.
That's a long time.
It is a long time. And they just signed on the dotted line a couple days ago to buy new construction. I don't know many other agents, and I'm sure you have some thoughts on this, that would spend 5 years with a client running around, looking at property several times a year, investing that time. Right.
Yeah, I mean
it's not the ideal, right?
Hats off to you.
Yeah, it's not the ideal situation, but I met these people when I first got into real estate, and so they became, I don't know.
You bonded.
Yeah, we bonded, and it almost became my white whale. Like, right. I had to close these people, and I didn't rush them. They didn't feel. If you talk to them, they didn't feel rushed. Obviously, we were together 5 years, so if they felt rushed, they might need to see a therapist. I don't know. Like, it's just, obviously we didn't rush the process. We waited until we found the right house in the right area for them. They pulled the trigger, and I can't be more happy for them.
Well, and I think that goes back to what we had talked about in one of the previous podcasts, is that, the best time to buy is when you're ready, right? Yeah. And I think, to Mike's point, is an agent shouldn't be pushy. Now, if you tell us that that property is a 10 and you're ready to buy, then we're going to probably move you along a little bit quicker because that's what you're communicating to us.
Yeah.
But to a fault probably on our end, neither one of us are pushy.
No.
I mean, and one of the most important takeaways for me with my clients is, and I always say this, is I want you to understand that if you buy today, wonderful. If you don't buy for 3 years, that's fine too, because we have other people in the pipeline that are buying all the time. So again, that's an interesting way of looking at it. So think of it this way: if your buyer agent's being pushy, it could be because that's just their personality, right? Or it's because it's their one transaction this year, right? Which then again,
part of 71%.
Exactly. So that could be, that's an interesting way to look at that as well. So, you know, obviously, if they are pushy and that's not your personality, you're probably not going to connect anyhow.
Yeah.
So that you'll probably be leaving them because really, you know, while we're talking about this portion of it, we've already talked about what it's an exclusive buyer's agreement, and one of the most important parts is commission, right? I mean, I'll be honest, I'll say it, Mike will say it, you know, we love what we do, but we don't do it for free.
Yeah,
correct. I mean,
I am for profit.
Right. Yeah. But being with somebody for 5 years, that's a long time. That's a lot of time, energy, effort spent into that person. So if you break it down to an hourly thing, sometimes it doesn't look that way. But again, right? But sometimes, but then there's other transactions that we don't have a lot into, but we bring a lot of information and knowledge to it that helps them navigate that quickly through the process.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I've had transactions that I get a phone call, and the next thing I know, we're under contract.
So it's a trade-off.
It's a trade-off.
And so I'm gonna because the one important conversation, and it's called a value proposition, like why are we worth what we're worth, correct?
Yeah.
And so there has to be some value for the buyer. So obviously the things that we're talking about, but we also need to sit down and talk about on that property, on that exclusive listing agreement, what we're worth. And so that has to be an agreement between you, the buyer, and us as the agent. And sometimes we sign, sometimes we don't if we can't agree to that. And again, we're not upset. We understand their situation. It's business. And I think, you know, that's what people have to understand too. So, because when you pick that agent, part of that comes with compensation. And again, the vast majority of properties, the seller and or the listing company is providing compensation for a buyer, right? Agent, that is equal to what you're going to be getting anyhow. So it is common for us, at least, again, this is for Mike and I, where there's not anything extra due by a buyer under the buyer agency agreement.
Yeah, I've only had one person in 5 years that has had to stroke a check at settlement for my services, and that was discussed up. I mean, it's like it always is, discussed up front. And that person was a first-time home buyer. They had no idea what they were doing. They wanted to buy a new construction where the builder was actually not offering any compensation. And I gave them the option. I said, "Hey, look, you know, this is going to cost you X amount. You know, if you want, you can work directly with the builder on this." And they said, "No, I need somebody on my side." And they recently called me not long ago, and they're looking to sell that house and buy a new one, right? Because I provided that value to them, and they saw value in what I in my services. And so that's to me, that's the biggest compliment that I could ever receive is somebody coming back to me.
So I have to say this because we don't have a meeting before this podcast to have conversation.
I wish we did.
I wish Mike does. Mike's more of our planner. I like to kind of go by the seat of our pants. But the interesting part is we're segueing into this thing. So repeat business, right? And you said it earlier, and I think that is probably one of the most underlooked because it's really hard to gauge that, right? Because unless you a buyer say, "Hey, how's your repeat business?" Then again, could I quote exactly what my percentage of business was last year? I probably should, but I don't. I get a ton of repeat business. I'm working with a ton of people now that are repeat. and I'm working with a bunch of referrals, which I love referrals from past clients because it truly makes you feel good that you did such a good job that they're willing to then refer their friends to you.
Come back to you.
Right. Yeah. So that would be a great question to ask an agent would be is, hey, how do you acquire your clientele, right? Or is it, because we're on Google, we're pay-per-click, we're on Facebook, we're pay-per-click, we're on DuckDuckGo, we're on Bing, we're everywhere.
Facebook.
From pretty much everywhere, and we do pay for leads. It's a lead generation business, and so the more that you have coming in, because really an agent converts maybe 1 to 3% is the industry standard. Some excel and get maybe 3 or 4 or 5%. Again, to me, it depends on the market and how much is available in your market. Point being is, a good agent has that pipeline, but they also aren't relying solely on that pipeline. They literally are relying on their referrals.
Repeat business. Yeah. And I'm working with clients now that bought with me about 2 years ago, and they're looking to buy a second home now in the same area. And they called me up and said, hey, we like this house. I wrote the offer for them, right? It was just, honestly, it's almost too, this was almost too easy, but it's because I laid that foundation previously with them, that they came back to me and they're bringing their family with them as well. And so, stuff like that makes me smile. I don't smile a whole lot, but when I do, I mean, it's just stuff like that because it does make me feel good. Like you said, it makes you feel good that somebody comes back to you, they trust you, you've built that relationship with them. So I love it.
Right, and
all
again,
your friends.
Right, I think the great part about Mike and I is that we're super transparent in pretty much everything. So there's also potential times where we don't get that referral. We see a client that has bought with us sell someplace else, and one of the mistakes that agents make in that point is they're not top of mind either. Right. So again, that doesn't really have to do with a buyer picking somebody, but I think the buyer picking an agent, you need to kind of concentrate on asking the question of, hey, let me see your reviews. How's your referral business doing? Those type of things I think are important as well.
Yeah, like you said, I'm just thinking about the clients I've lost that have bought with me or sold with me and went with somebody else.
It's going to happen
for another transaction. It's just, those are what keep me, I think, coming in every day, trying to learn as much as I can about real estate, staying top of mind, staying in contact with these people, letting them know what we're working on, things that are changing in the market, things are changing in real estate in general. So that doesn't happen, right? We want to eliminate that, or at least keep it as low as possible. And so, but when they do come back, it's nice.
It is. It's. I call it the gravy. I really truly do. Nothing. I mean, I'm looking at my transactions this year, and I can seriously 80% of them right now currently are going to be referrals just in this 3 months. Now I have a whole bunch of newbies that are looking, that are not referrals. They're from the pipeline that have been on the site, or very rarely do you get somebody who comes in initially that's ready to buy. They do. I mean, it happens. And we love it when it does, but for the most part, people come in, they get to know us, and then we go there. So, I'm trying to go ahead.
So I just trigger a thought. I actually enjoy when I have clients that I've met with a couple times and showed a property to. They're still in the market, they're still looking for that right property, and they call you up and say, "Hey, can you go look at this property for me?" Right, without them even being here, right? I know what they're looking for. I know if this property is going to work for them, and them having the trust in me, using my eyes to tell them, what I'm seeing. Is this going to make sense for them? I actually I've had in the past people say, "Can you look at a property for me?" I look at it and I say, "I think it's exactly what you're looking for," and they buy it, right? And then when they get down here and they see it for themselves, they go, "Oh, you what, man? You nailed it, right? This is exactly what I was looking for. You knew what I was looking for, and you made it happen." And so for me, call me up. Gonna look at something for you, let you know what I think. I'll give you my honest opinion. Usually it doesn't work out. Really, it's not going to be the right property.
Right.
But when it does,
but we'll tell them.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, this isn't right. You're not going to want to do this. You're not going to pursue this. Leave this one alone. Let's keep looking.
So again, from I think it was our first podcast, one of the things that we said was, we ultimately sell real estate. That's kind of what we do, right? It's how we get paid, but that's not really what we do.
No.
What we're selling is our trust that we have your best interest.
It's a relationship business.
Because at the end of the day, the commission's great, but the referral to me is the lifeblood of what we do. And so again, I don't mean to beat this up because again we didn't talk prior to this about what we were talking about, but as I'm going through here, reviews are great, the website's great, the connection's wonderful, but I think if I were going to base something on, if somebody said pick the one thing out of all the things you guys discussed of being the most important, I'm going to say it's a repeat business. I'm going to say it's the repeat referral business.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
People that you've worked with that send you business, that return to you, bring their business to you, they are the lifeblood. You always need new clients,
sure.
But the ones that you've worked with in the past that come back to you, that I think it makes it all worth it, because when somebody comes back to me, I feel like, okay, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm doing it right. These people trust me, and I value that trust.
Yes.
And so when they come back to me, or they send me their sister or their brother, or their friend down the street, and they call me up and say, hey, so and so gave me your number. I'm looking to buy. Let's do it. Let's rock and roll, because that's what it's all about. Helping people. Like I said, we're not pushy. I don't feel like I've ever forced anybody into any transaction. It's ultimately up to the buyer or the seller, if they want to buy or sell. I mean, it's ultimately up to them. All I can do is provide the information, and give them as much knowledge as possible to make the most informed decision.
So I'll bring up one more item that I'll be curious to get your opinion on.
Plan this out.
Well, no, because I think the other thing too is we talked about communication is important.
Yeah.
And God knows I love to talk. So and I'm not afraid to talk in circles, right? I will repeat the same thing multiple times.
They noticed that.
Right.
I saw the comment.
So what I'm always curious about, because this is how when I go into showings, and I tell my clients this when I'm there, is I shut up. Like when I take somebody into a property, I'm not there trying to pressure them to buy the property. I actually tell them, hey, let me get the doors open, the lights turned on, let me get everything ready for you to pretend you own the property, and then ask me questions, have conversation about it, because also we've signed an exclusive buyer agency agreement, so we can have in-depth conversations about this property. Actually, we're in one right now that's going to be on the market here shortly at the Lalisa. This is unit 202. It's a beautiful property, by the way. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. Anyhow,
your wife told me she wants you to buy it.
She did say that, and I told her it would not happen. So my question to you is, getting back to the pushy portion of this, do you think an agent who is silent during a showing or is pushy, I mean, is there a fine line there? I mean, how do you treat that?
Well, the way I operate, I go in, we get the lights on, I tell them, you have free reign. Don't break anything, please. But yeah, I mean, open the closet doors up. Envision yourself living here. Is this going to work for you and your family, right? And I stand in the kitchen, right? And then when they come in the kitchen, I go in the other room. Unless they want, if people want me to follow them, answer, they have a dozen questions as we go through a property. Absolutely. But for me, I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm here to show you the property. Does it make sense for you? Ask the questions you have. Let's get those answered. If we get those answered in a way that makes sense for you and your family, let's put something together. And what's that look like?
And that's when our work starts.
Yeah, and then that's where we come in, and our expertise, honestly, is when the process starts. So we're going to make an offer. What's it look like? How do we make it with the best terms and conditions for you and the seller? Right? Because you want to get the seller's attention. You want them to not be able to say no to you.
Well, hold on. So let's clarify. Mike's not saying you're trying to get the best deal for the seller, but but you want them to engage.
Yeah, you want them at the table.
Yes.
Because then at that point now we can talk.
Right.
What are you really truly looking for as the seller? What are you looking for to do as a buyer? Right. And let's find a happy medium where it's common ground that we can all come together. Because honestly, if the buyer and the seller both leave settlement pissed off, we got ourselves a good deal. Right? The seller feels like they got screwed. You feel like you didn't get the best deal. Well, guess what? We probably found the best deal for everyone.
There's
and that's how you get to settlement.
There's some nuance in there. So, but he's correct because
I don't want anybody pissed off.
Right. Well, no, because the seller thinks that they sold the place too low, and the buyer still thinks they didn't pay it low enough. Right. So in there is that happy medium, right? That, well, you both are upset because you both gave and got, right? So, and I'm with Mike. I think the goal when seeing a property is you have to let a buyer picture themselves in the house. And if you are that noise in the background that's saying, hey, look at the counter, it's brand new. Like,
look at this.
Right. Like they can see that. They know that, right? Now, if they ask you, hey, what type of flooring is this?
How much does a lamp cost?
Right. I mean, or there's a specific question that they ask. That's a different story that will chime in. But I'm with Mike. Don't take quiet for not knowing. Take quiet for the person respecting your
time.
Exactly.
And feeling the place. You've got to
feel in the place.
I've had clients in the past that I sold a property down at 54th Street, around there, a few years ago. I've never met the buyer. Never met him. We did a video.
To this day.
We communicate.
He talks to him. He's a big Notre Dame fan.
Go Irish.
Yeah.
We communicate on a regular basis, especially during football season. Right. We go every weekend. We're talking about.
He was a COVID buyer though. Right.
He was.
He was a COVID buyer.
He was, and he was out of town. We did a video tour of the property. They never came and saw it. They went to settlement where they live. Right. Still hadn't seen the property. They bought the unit without seeing it. They came down 2 weeks later to see the property for the first time. Left a little lockbox there for them with a key in it. They came in when they could, and I got the best text ever. We love it. Fantastic job. You nailed it. Right. The entire time I'm stressing out. Like, if they hate this, what happens? Like, what do we do? How do I get them out? I can't get them out now. They bought the place.
They're in.
Right. So for me, getting in a place, I encourage you, please come to town, see the property in person, feel the property, so I don't have to stress.
Right. we do. I mean, the fun part is actually meeting the person.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting to know them.
And to see the excitement.
Yeah.
Right? Nothing makes me happier than on settlement date when I'm like, are you ready? And they're excited. Right?
Yeah,
and they're
let's do this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it does happen sometimes where we've showed up for the final walkthrough and they're stressed because it's such a huge thing, and you don't see the giddiness in them, and you're kind of like, oh gosh, right?
We already have buyer's remorse.
Exactly. So yeah. So the goal here on this, and I don't think are we pretty good? I think on how to choose an agent. I mean, we cover a lot of ground here.
Yeah, just choose us.
Right, great. Choose us, make it easy on yourself, reach out, because we do all those things. And we have all this.
Simplify the process, call us.
But to be the truth, truthfully, I've had clients where I've called them up and said, hey, listen, we're just not a match.
Yeah.
And they literally, I mean, and I'm telling you, people that I've written offers for, and through the process of writing the offer for,
don't make us fire you.
The values didn't align on how the things were going, and the deal didn't get through. I mean, I can just think of the one last year, and I literally told the buyer, I said, thank you very much. I appreciate your trust. Unfortunately, we're just not aligned. They went and bought a property that within a month with somebody else. So they were a real buyer. They were a real buyer, over $500,000. It was a good commission check, but it wasn't a match. And I think a buyer, kind of like you're dealing with and I'm dealing with, because you had the one on 54th Street who've come to you after they had an experience.
Right.
I've got this new couple that have come to me after a not so good experience. And again, it's okay not to have a good experience, right?
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
We don't all get along.
No, and the key though is how you navigate your buyer. So again, to me, I wasn't upset with the buyer. I just said, hey, I just think we're just not a match, and they moved on. So, you know, we're trying to wrap up, and we kind of added some more into this. But I think, you know, obviously communication, reviews, making sure that they have some repeat business.
And they know their market. The market you're buying in, the agent knows that.
Look, I'm a firm believer, and I know this is going to upset some people. I think if you don't know the area, and I don't mean like know the area, like everybody knows Ocean City. Everybody knows Dewey Beach or Rehoboth or Fenwick. But if you don't know the area,
and how to navigate. I mean, getting into a building, every building is different.
Yeah.
I know that sounds crazy, and you can figure it out. Right, it just takes maybe a couple minutes. But sometimes when you got a buyer standing behind you waiting for you to open the door, that's when I sweat the most. Like, this ain't working. It don't look good.
Right.
You know what I mean? So having somebody that knows just how to access.
Right. So we're okay with you using a new agent. I don't think we're saying anything bad about that, as long as that new agent has good resources around it, good support with it. Exactly. Part-timers, not saying a part-timer can't be good, but again, you should be kind of looking for, especially if you're brand new at buying, you should be really guiding yourself to somebody who's been in the business for quite some time, that has all these other attributes, because they're going to help guide you, right? Where again, a part-time agent is simply that by virtue of part-time. And again, to the crazy stat, 71% of realtors either had 0 or 1 sale last year. Again, that
happens to me, I'll be part-time.
Right. Well, no. If that happens to us, we won't be having these anymore. Right. And again, you know, we talked about this last time. We took our foot off the sales last year because we really wanted to dive into Airbnb and VRBO. But even in that situation, we were well into $20 million of sales. Plus, we referred some business out. We had over 40 transactions easily. So again, you know, and last year was a slow year, right? Yeah. Last year, you know,
a lot of uncertainty.
A lot of uncertainty last year, and you know, this is starting to tick up now. But again, you know, take the time. Do your due diligence. Pick Mike and I to be your agent to move forward. But you know, any closing remarks that you can think of?
This unit will be on the market soon.
No, yes. Oh, thanks, Mike.
You don't buy it.
So this is the Lalisa. It's a 2-bed, 2-bath, completely redone. HVAC system is a little bit over 2 years old. The water heater is 2 years old. Every doorway here is actually standard wheelchair accessibility, which is super unheard of at the beach. So that's a nice feature as well. Great ocean view, south-facing property.
The ocean's right there.
The ocean's literally right there. Elevator, outdoor storage. It checks all the boxes off. So, you know, reach out to Mike or myself. Great part is if you're looking for a buyer's agent, I can't be that because I'm the listing agent here. But Mike can be, because we do have dual agency within the team, which is a whole other conversation. But if you are looking for that, let us know. Reach out to us. If not,
BeachLifeOceanCity.com.
BeachLifeOceanCity.com, and thank you very much.